We're good.
Yes, sir.
Hey, um, is it is it going live, Larry?
Verifying for you now. Need a little refresh action here.
Okay, we're live. So, hello, Larry. Firebores.
Hi, how are you guys?
So I wanted to introduce our special guest today, Firebores Jacques, who I met. God, I think
We're live.
it was about 1993-ish or something that I first met you. And it was at an EFC, it was a seminar that they hosted down your way. And I remember
I was in Sacramento at Kovars.
was it Sacramento? Okay, yeah, that's right, because we went to Sacramento, went to Kovar School for the first time. So I was down with Don Guerin and Fred Dagerberg, and we stayed at the same hotel. And I remember you were in front of us, and there was a little basket that people were putting their business cards in, and I can't remember, it was like a giveaway or something the hotel was doing, and you threw yours in, and you were right in front of us before we checked in. And I looked at his card, and he had his picture on there, Larry, and I was like, that's the first time I saw really a photo business card like that. And we picked it up and I was showing Don Guerin. I go, who is this guy? Look at this business card, man. Amazing. And then I found out he's just an ordinary dude. It was no big deal. no, but it was like, that was my first introduction to him. And anyway, over the years, we became really good friends. And I went to his school, and when I first saw his school, I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. Because, Firebores always would think outside the box. And he came up with these scrolls, right? And they had the 7 codes of the samurai. And I remember it was like, oh, Firebores, can I get a copy of that? Can I get that? So he got me the artwork. And what did I do? I put up in my school. Remember that I had my 7 codes. So when Firebores came to visit, I go, hey, check this out. And I loved his office. So I had to make a really cool office in mine too. But we're going to get more with Firebores. I just wanted to give an introduction. But before we get in that, Larry, you know what time? It's the what the F time. So today it's your turn to give me what the F. And these are things that we're like, what the, things that are like our pet peeve. Like, why do people do these stupid things?
Yep.
Larry, what's your...
Man, I tell you one that drives me mad. I've probably posted it a million times with pictures of this too on social media. But, I'll be walking back to my car or something like that. And you'll just see this just barrage of like the battlefield of grocery carts that have been left along the way as you go to your car or as you walk up towards the store. And it drives me crazy. I mean, I've seen it literally like it's the car and then another car, and they leave the cart right there. And 2 cars over is the dispenser. Like it's right there, And I remember I had somebody tell me one time, they said, oh, well, what, if you're a mom and you've got your kid and it's raining this and that. And I was like, my kids are with me like 24/7. I was like, they go everywhere with me. You get a little wet, it's okay. You just move it over, or you put the kid in the car and then you move the cart. And it's that simple. It's not a big deal. But man, it just blows me away how it happens. And they didn't, obviously, most of the time, I would say 90-95% of the time, they didn't get the cart randomly from some spot. They walked all the way up to the front of the store, got a brand new fresh cart out, and then went through the store and did their business. They come back out, they load up the groceries, and they just leave the cart randomly anywhere. I don't know. It's just it's a lazy thing. Maybe it was the way my mom raised me. But it's funny because I got a 16-year-old daughter and I got an 11-year-old daughter, and they all go to put up the carts. And in fact, they'll grab extra carts and go put them up just because they've already kind of gotten that in them. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I'll tell you what, I can't.
It's frustrating when you try to pull into the parking spot and their carts are blocked. And that actually happened about a week and a half ago. Deb and I were shopping at Sam's Club, and I go, oh crap, there's a cart. And this kid that was putting groceries away, he saw that and he would pull the cart out so we could pull in. And I was like, man, thank you. I said, that is awesome that you just did that. That was such an amazing thing that you did for us, and appreciate it. I said, I looked up and said, because we're old people now and we appreciate that. And he's laughing. So, yeah, and you know what, to add to that, what I really get irritated at is you're grocery shopping, right? And then you'll pass an area, and then people are too freaking lazy to take back something that they decided they want to buy. And what really gets me, it's like a frozen product, and they just stick it on the shelf. It's like, what? How hard is it for you to walk it back? But they'll just throw it on the shelf.
Yeah. I mean, it's only how many paces in the grocery store, depending on where you go. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really not that far to go put something back where you got it. You know what I mean? So, but
How about
that
you,
kind of
Fire
goes.
Are you one of those guys that take it back? Or
No, I usually take it back. When the kids were a little smaller, and if like put them in like a seat and stuff, I wouldn't feel safe leaving my car, and I wouldn't. But now they're doing with me, and I think it's just a small little gesture, you know. And it's what the more, I don't know, this whole one thing I learned about this whole thing from pandemic is that going back to the basics is what it's all about. We need to that's why I took the name Master from my name. I haven't mastered shit yet. And so just doing going back to simple things and putting shopping cart away, that's such a simple act of I think that's what it all comes down to, simple stuff, and I appreciate people who can do simple stuff in a master's way. But that's a perfect example. You see something like that and nobody's watching, right? And that's the whole thing about having a private victory, right? I'm trying to teach my kids about public victory and private victory, and that's such a public, private victory when you put that away, and you just feel good. But what even sometimes feels better is when you see the next car coming, or somebody's been watching you and they got this look on their face like, I should have done that. They don't have to say anything, but it's kind of cool to have those private moments where you feel good. And that's what it always feels good to do the right thing, right? I'm telling you, every time I've done something wrong, I felt bad about it. And I knew I was doing it, but I chose to do it anyway. But on the other side, when I knew what I'm doing is right, there's such a warm feeling in my heart, my whole body, like I'm doing the right thing, And even though my kids, it's funny, I'm sure you guys can relate to this. My kids will bag on it, but I hear them talking to other friends about it, right? Or correcting somebody else, but they won't do it in front of me, but they'll do that on their own. I hear it and I go, hey, he remembers, he saw that, So it's kind of cool. I don't know. I just think my kids are more watching me than listening to me than ever, Well,
there's something about that, listening, right? Yeah. I mean, spiritually, we have given that innate ability to kind of know what's right or wrong. And if we really listen to our heart, it really tells us, our mind might be saying to do one thing, but your heart, if it doesn't feel good, you know it wasn't the right thing. Well, when you feel good, it warms you. You know what I mean? That. We all have that.
There's that big old distinction between doing the right thing and doing something right. There is a little distinction between it, right? Because if I choose to, cheat, I can do it right. Like I can make sure nobody finds out. I can make sure I do this. I should cover that, cover the teacher, whatever. But if you sit back and go, that's not the right thing to do, right? So that's where I'm at with my kids right now, trying to get them the distinction between these two, what's the difference between doing the right thing and doing something right? Because the society keeps pushing us to do things right. I remember when I was a kid, I had to go out of my way to be bad. I would have to be really like sneaky to do something like, whatever. And now it's the other way around. It's so easy to like do something that's wrong, but you have to go out of your way. You have to almost check in with yourself. Okay, should I do this? Should I not? You know what I mean? And I don't know. I think times have changed, I don't know, for the good, for the bad. So, yeah. But that distinction is the great thing, is what's the right thing, right? What is the right thing to do? And we all have that inner compass in us. If we just relax and don't talk and just listen, and that inner compass, isn't that the greatest thing in self-defense anyway? The voice inside your head tells you, hey, this is the wrong place. This guy's no good. I'm in the wrong place right now. I'm going to step out. But we don't listen, right? And then there's consequences, right? If we just listen to that inner voice that says, hey, you know what, this is not the right thing. Trust it, right? And that muscle gets stronger and stronger and stronger.
Something you just posted today about this native that you were learning.
Right. It was such an interesting. He was teaching. He was teaching Apache knife, which to me, his knife is a knife. It was a couple of things I walked away from. I love the way he all their names are the names of the moves were names in the nature. Like instead of downward figure eight, it was going downwind, right? Upwind, right? Or they were going with the figure eight this way. They're called a raven because the raven flies this way. So everything had this names, like the ice pick grip. For the ice pick grip, they call that mountain grip because it looks like shape of a mountain, So it's kind of cool to see that the relationship between what they do and nature. Almost everything you talked about, he's like, okay, well, you cut the thigh because we're after the artery and then the throat. But he was like, no, when the lion attacks, they cut the back leg of an animal, then they go after the throat. So everything kind of like had a comparison to nature, which was, kind of neat for me. And I appreciate
what really impressed me, what you posted, and you said,
oh, no. And that was my second point.
Yeah. That he would, you said that he wouldn't come out like we would answer quickly, but he always thought about, and right. I thought that was a good takeaway. He thought about what he was going to say rather than like what we just,
I'll tell you,
open up and say something.
You know who's done that? Who does that also? Sensei Benny does that because, Sensei Benny is from the, American Indian heritage. And, but I've always noticed that, God, American Indian is a little slow, but it's not that. Especially if they're talking to somebody they respect or elder, they like wait for a second. They go in their head, they go, okay, what if he really is asking me? Okay, what I'm going to say is appropriate? Then they answer. Versus I would just say whatever is on my mind, right? So, and it was cool because he was actually doing that. Like I asked him a question a couple of times. He like would kind of sit back kind of thing. Then he would say something, right? Because he didn't want to say the inappropriate, not the wrong thing. He didn't want to say the inappropriate thing because he's at my school, he's, you know what I mean? He's trying to be polite. And I really appreciated that. And he's like, that's my, American Indian heritage, which I love.
Which is good. It's a good takeaway for all of us because, we get in trouble a lot of times when we get impulsive, we're upset and we go on Facebook and we post something or on Twitter. Yeah. Without really thinking through the process. A lot of people get in trouble. I'm very careful on that. I always, should I post that? Should I think through this? And then sometimes I'll go, nah, it's not, I won't do it.
I'll tell you, I'm going through some personal challenges and I'm taking some therapy classes. And one thing that my therapist is like, when you get a text from someone, you don't have to answer it right away. Just wait for a second, take a deep breath. Maybe if it's not that thing, sleep on it. If not, maybe wait a couple hours. Because when there's emotion involved, you can say the wrong thing. And as you know, especially with the text, the answers are very cold, and the interpretation is depends to the other person's mood at the same time, right? Not necessarily mine. Mm-hmm. So I could be saying the whatever, and they could be taking it completely the wrong way, right? And I went through that with my son because we're just going back and forth about something. And I told him, I said, God, you're just being such an asshole, and you'd be just being so cold. I can't believe, who is this? Then, he came over, we talked for an hour, and I'm like, oh my God, Arya, this is not you. This is you. This is, what we should have talked about. Why did we go through all that cold text back and forth? It's because he said something, I just went right back to him. I just played that up game. Remember, we used to do that in AFC, which, well, yeah. And, I'm beginning to dislike people who up me. And I stop people from that sometimes. And I go, you know what? There's no reason for you to up me. You're already good, But people try to I say something that I used, they want to say, oh yeah, I did this too. And I did this too. And you know what I mean? And that's what was happening between me and him, and my ego was getting a little underway and his ego, and so I said, you know what? So I finished the conversation by saying, you know what? We're not going to talk. We're going to stop the texting. We're going to meet. Come over. We're going to sit down. And we sat down with normal voice, no yelling. And it was like, oh my God, thank God my son is back. This is the one, right? Anyway, so.
Yeah, I get you. And Larry and I, we text all day because we're working our projects, on our site and get things going. And, I always give each other smiley faces so no, just kidding. But, we do. Yeah. It's so like when we were up in Oregon, we had hired this kid next door who's in 8th grade. And when he came over, my wife's going, oh, you just water it. And I look at her, I go, Deb, show him how to turn it on and show him, because she's looking at me like, I said, no, you have to, because you think that they know what to do, but they don't. Kids never really watered a yard before. He's never watered plants, right? And so he texts me back all the time. And I just wish I could get on the phone, because then I got to answer it. And, you know, I think my wife finally got it, because he texts me and he goes, can I FaceTime you? Because I'm not sure if this is a real or a fake plant. And Deb starts cracking up in the background. And I'm like,
right.
I don't want to crack up in front of him.
No, but you know,
right?
It's the point of reference. I never forget this. When they were, Covey was talking about this. He said when they were talking to the people in India about Empire State Building, one of the guys rose their hand and said, well, how many sheep does it hold? You know, they were talking about how many, you know, story it is, you know what I mean? So if you don't have the other person's point of reference, you know what I mean? If you were completely off, you know, but going back to the texting and responding right away, it's the same thing in sparring, right? I know when I spar and somebody hits me, my first thing is, you know what? You did this, I'm going to do whatever, you know, or if you punch me, I'm going to out punch you. Versus thinking back, relaxing, not taking it personal and go, oh, you're a puncher. Now I'm going to use my legs. You know what I mean? To try to complement his move. You know what I mean? But that upping the other person, letting my ego come in, that's the huge thing. I think we miss the simple things. Yeah, as a school owner, I'll tell you one thing. I was just talking to another school owner. We miss preparing our students for some of their most simplest questions. Like I tell you, most martial arts schools, I'm sure yours does, but what's the first thing when a kid learns martial arts when they go home and the uncle comes in and says, oh, you take karate? What's the first thing the uncle says? Show me something.
Yeah. Well, what do you do against this punch? I mean, that's
we don't prepare them for that answer.
Mm-hmm.
Or I didn't. But, you know, you start thinking about it, you go, oh, I'm going to have a pre-arranged answer for that. Because everybody will say that. Oh, you take karate? Show me something. Right? And or, you know, what's the first thing that the kid comes from the studio and the mom picks him up in a car? What's the first thing the mom says? What'd you learn today?
Mm-hmm.
It's a natural thing. But again, my job as a teacher, I need to prepare them for that question. So we ask them at the end of the class. I ask them, even if I don't teach their class, they're leaving. Hey, buddy, how you doing, man? What'd you learn today? Because I'm pre-framing him. And if he says nothing, I'm going to make sure he gets something. You know, I'm going to start saying something, you know, then when he gets to the car, right, he'll have an answer in his mind. When somebody says, show me karate, now we say, okay, well, I pray I never have to use my art. I only look for the good in people. I hide my art like a hidden treasure. So they're showing something physical. At the same time, they're saying, I'm hiding my art. Don't ask me any more stupid questions. You know what I mean? So it's a polite way of saying, here's my martial arts. Right? Because everybody does that, right? Yeah. So, and there's a series of these questions, right? Series of these simple things that, you know, during the pandemic, this is what I was going through in my head. God, let's don't get so complicated. Go back to some of the simple stuff that we do. You know, what are the predictable stuff that every kid does or every student will do? You know, as easy as, you know, martial arts schools having a sign, visitors welcome. We miss that. We forget how intimidating it is for a mom with 2 kids to walk into a martial arts school. So that visitors welcome makes them feel, hey, I can go in here. You know what I mean? Or simple, you know, again, simple things like that, you know.
So I want to change the subjects a little bit. And so both you and Larry now, I mean, I retired from running a school, and there's parts that I miss of it, but there's parts that I don't miss, you know. So you guys, both you had to come through dealing with the pandemic, and 2 different places you dealt with different situations. So what I'd like to ask, Fire Boys, you were shut down for quite a bit. You know, when did you get shut down? When did you get open? And how did it really impact your business?
Well, you know, we shut down for a good, I'd say about 5 months, maybe close to 6 months. We were shut down. But I just couldn't take it anymore. We came back and started doing privates, you know, and just close the doors and trying to, you know, follow the law or whatever it is that we could do. I never got into the Zoom. I just felt like it was a little too impersonal. And my experience with my own kids at home being on Zoom is that they're in Zoom all day long. You know, the last thing they want to do, get on another Zoom, you know, and I just couldn't have the effect or influence on the kids. So I didn't do it as much. I know some of the instructors here did it and they were successful. We did some FaceTime. But one thing that I got you know, so first thing we did, our landlord was so generous. He came and gave us a huge break on the rent. So then we did a GoFundMe page, and the GoFundMe page paid for almost a year of rent. And it's funny because my landlord didn't know the GoFundMe was going to go to him. He actually donated. He actually donated $1,000 to the GoFundMe page. Then when I got the money, I gave it all to him. And I said, no, this is, you know, and we have a gym next door to us, you know, that's hasn't paid rent since then, you know? So he was like, here it is, the guy who's, you know, making all this money, and here's, you're not, but you're still committed. You still have the honor to do this, you know? Anyway, so we did a GoFundMe page. That was really good. So it took us till like January, February. And so that was great as far as expenses, you know, of the studio. Then we just did privates, and I got a lot less students. We went from, you know, 400, 440 to like 30, you know, and dropped down. But I tell you, I got much better results with a 30. So there's some things that came out of that was like, whoa, wait a minute. This whole private thing is not a bad idea, you know, and even semi-privates, you know, having two people or just one person, because then I learned, let's really concentrate on being a service to these privates, which means document every lesson, even through video or notes, and follow up. So they started thinking, you know, make sure you do that. I'm sure you guys do this too. I always say that to them. Okay, make sure you practice my next class. Come and show me whatever. I forget. You kidding me? I'm like, you know, with all these students, you know. But with privates, I didn't, because I went back on my phone and there was a note. He was supposed to do this, so I held him accountable for it. So they started being a little bit more serious. They're like, oh man, I should have done this, you know. Then they come, or they start texting. Well, you know, since I knew I was supposed to do this, I couldn't do it. Can I have another time? You know what I mean? So that showed me, hey, there's a little bit of caring. So the retention went up. And not only retention went up, but the fee went up. Because now they're putting more value on this. Because if they see that I'm not, here's where I'm at. You know me, I have the greatest ideas in the world, but my follow-up sucks, right? So going back to, instead of having all these ideas, let's just stick to this and make this work with the privates. And they're happier, right? And even right now we're open, but most of them are like, no, we want to go back to privates. I'm like, I can't do it anymore, man. I got group classes, you know? So I got to somehow, so what I'm basically saying, those karate palace days are over for me. You know, I want to shrink down. I want to be more of service. That's what the whole COVID thing taught me. Take care of the people, and take care of the people who really took care of us, right? They, not necessarily if they, you know, donated to the GoFundMe or none of that. I mean, that was great, but the people who really went out of their way just to check in, like, hey, you know, Sensei, how you doing, man? You know, I got student, you know, a few students, Sensei Bill, who just been with me for 24 years. He's a 4th degree black belt. He hasn't paid tuition for like 20 years, probably, whatever, because he always helps out around here. The day COVID started, it just gives me goosebumps. Every month he brings the tuition. I'm like, Bill, you don't have to go. No, Sensei, this is my time now, you know. And so some of the people that started reaching out, you know, and you start seeing, I started seeing, you know, who's really important, you know, who talks, who backs it up. And what I mean by backup is not necessarily money wise, just for them who really came and sat down. I mean, Ron Balicki, I mean, he was like call and say, Ron, you know, how you doing? Tell me what exactly you need so I can help you with. You know, what can I do? Or just come over here. You know, let's go get coffee. Let's just, you know, or just make sure everything is okay, you know. And anyway, so, but now we're starting back up. A lot of people are calling, a lot of new students. I don't think we're going to go back to 40 kids on the floor grappling, rolling around on a mat. If that's not going to happen that quick.
I think it's going to take time, you know. I still think that we're going to be dealing with COVID for a while with variants coming out.
Yeah. But so, I did everything that I wanted to do. I got away from exams. I didn't want to have any more exams. I didn't want to have exam fees. I wanted to graduate people right in the middle of the class. I want to go back to I love that about the BJJ world, the way they do it. I got away from the uniforms. I want to make sure that everybody look the same, but get rid of some of the stuff that I really don't need to. Really gave me a chance to redo my curriculum, really think about what's important right now. What can I do? You know, people, especially during the COVID, they need stuff to do on their own. But forms, I don't know about that. But workouts, great. You know, let's come up with some workouts and let's name them. Let's challenge them to do it. You know, I did a challenge online where I came up with a whole bunch of lists of the things that people knew. None of them were martial arts. There were like 40, 45 things, you know, like, you know, how to create a vegetable garden, you know what I mean? Or how, you know what I mean? How to move things, or how, you know, simple things. And people went buck wild. I got videos of, you know, me showing your kids that live in apartments or doing vegetable gardens, you know. So I think I want to bring all that to the curriculum now. You know, fighting, as we always say, life skills, life skills, life skills. But I'm going to make the life skill lesson so simple and so basic that, you know, I don't need to teach integrity. Because truly, you can't teach it. I mean, come on, who's got a curriculum for me to teach?
You can only just give examples to people.
You can have it, right? You can have it, and people will notice. You know what I mean? People will notice, and perseverance, all these pretty words, you know, to courage, you know. But what does that mean, right? So I want to go back to really, really, really simple things that kids would come in. If it's day hot, one of the kids will volunteer and come up, take water bottles, hand it out to all the parents for free. You know what I mean?
So how does that change,
you know,
Larry, in your school? I mean, how, because you, again, two different parts of the country, but you weren't hardly shut down at all, right?
Yeah, we had, you know, it literally about just after that March, I think it was like early April, it just came down, might've been late March, and the lockdown went into effect. We pivoted fast within the first week or two of social distancing. We were doing Facebook Lives in our Facebook group. And then we were already moving over towards Zoom, which I'd never experienced before. And somebody interviewed me on it. So I was like, this is a cool platform. Let me teach on this too, right? So we moved over to that. A couple of days prior to the lockdown, we had, you know, video online curriculum and stuff like that, thanks to this guy right here. He's always encouraged forward thinking, I think, which is great, and being able to help the student body. And that's a big pillar for me and my background when he's mentored me. And honestly, I was thankful for that too, because I just gave away stuff like you wouldn't believe. As we were locked down for, I don't even remember what it was, 6 weeks or more, going into May, I ordered like a bunch of century punching bags, resistance bands, workout balls, staffs, just everything I could give them to work out. And then for every person that logged into Zoom or did Facebook Live, we would keep their attendance, and we'd make raffle tickets here in my garage. And then as they every week that ended, we raffled off something. And we just kept doing that to each one of the students and paying in. And of course, you know, here's this, like, we don't know what's going to happen in the world. And my wife's like, what are you doing? You're just, money's just pouring out left and right. And I said, I'd rather pay it into them and support them during this time than, you know, sit here and like hold it back and be like, no, we can't get rid of that. We got to hold this all for us, you know? And so we did that. And then in the meantime, while we were offline, myself and my team of 3 just did a lot of research. My wife works for a doctor's office, so we started making plans. When we open up, what are we going to do? How are we going to run this? And so we got a bunch of temperature check thermometers. We got O2 sensors. We got an infrared imaging gun to look for hot spots. We got an ozone machine for the school, which we probably all should have had to begin with. And we just, as soon as we opened up in May, we instituted all of those safety protocols into place. And our school is fortunate. All the really cool benefits that Fire Boards is talking about, we were kind of on that a few years ago. I had a big school, thankfully, to this guy right here. He helped me get to 275 students, right? It was a big blessing when I got a chance to work with him, and he coached me a little bit on just some really small, simple things to do. But having the 2 kids and just other interests and other ways of helping and doing things in the martial arts world, I wanted to make a change. So I slowly started trimming down, and we got in the 50s or 60s as far as student enrollment goes. And we do all kind of private and semi-private, and that's it. So it wasn't a hard shift when it came to warm bodies on the floor as far as what we needed to do for safety. But it still was just more of all the other protocols to integrate. And the big thankful thing that I also think I got from Fred Degerberg and from Mr. Fariborz here was community. And so we didn't have the martial arts community. Like, our student body was so tight that honestly, the only people we lost on the enrollment roster were brand new students, people that had joined within the last 3 months of the pandemic, right? Everybody else, knock on wood, has stayed with us through this whole thing, which is cool. You know, we helped a few people out. We put a few people on pause, right, with their tuition. I said, keep training. You should keep training. You need this, right? Keep doing this. It doesn't matter. Don't worry about the tuition. We'll deal with that later, you know? So we just kept going to the nth degree, really. And now we're back, you know, we're back on the semi-private, private bandwagon. We're keeping the numbers still pretty tight. But I'm also very thankful, probably at least probably 3/4 of the team that is on the floor, from students to everybody else, is either half vaccinated now or full vaccinated. We're still doing our safety protocols. We actually keep our front door locked at the school. We're all windows and it's a small space. So we see anybody that comes up, but we have safety protocols and signs up to say, you know, if you have an appointment or you need to wait for an instructor to come and greet you at the door. And we've just been keeping that structure. And since May, since reopening, 0 positives, right? 0 positives, which is awesome.
And I think I think the takeaway is going to be here is, you know, it's changing. Fireboards is changing on the things that he's doing. You're starting to make changes. I went back into business by basically doing Zoom classes. And my wife made a comment. She says, you know, you're a better teacher on Zoom than you were in person. And I go, well, I know, because my focus is just right there, right? I got a big 70-inch screen and I got to have that focus. So, you know, I could see, you know, there's more people in the world who are looking to get online training and online Zoom training. And so I think that we're going to change a little bit. I mean, we still teach what we teach, but the format, the delivery will be a little different. Now, Fireboards, I know he doesn't like to use when they use the term the father of martial arts and internet. So I actually changed. I said, let's use pioneer, because I knew he wouldn't like it. I was right, wasn't I, Fireboards? Because you told me in a call. I go, he's not going to like that. He's very humble. Ever since I've known him, he's a very giving person. And when I first started trying to because Fred Dagerberg, when I went to his school, he did everything with cards. He didn't want to do anything with a computer. I remember trying to teach him a computer one day, and it was exhausting because he's like, you know, I didn't like the computer. He wants to do the cards. Fireboards was now the tech guy. He was into technology. And so he had developed some software. Martial Edge, that's what it was called? And so he gave a copy and he started to work on that. And I mean, that's when I started seeing the proliferation of people using computers, using ways to, you know, log in, keep track of their students' attendance, testing, all that. And so he evolved to that. And then he started, you know, he developed a martial info database where you could go in and find, you know, all about instructors, schools, everything. So where are you taking it now, Fireboards? Are you going somewhere else with this, or are you done with that?
I hate to say it, but I'm kind of done with the tech world for a couple of reasons. One, it's not what I want to do. It's not part of my goals anymore. And second, I couldn't keep up. It would just, there's much better people who were sharper, and I was just making myself go too thin trying to do technology and teach and run a family, you know what I mean? And so I kind of let all that go and just work on my personal goals, you know, but the technology is still there, you know. What I found was the reason I got away from the software is that most martial arts schools that I knew that back then, maybe some right now, didn't care about what they were doing was right or wrong. They just wanted to do it faster. Speed was an issue. So it doesn't matter, you know, if this report, what it meant for them. They just wanted, some people called and said, well, you know, we want a report of doing this. And I asked them, what's the purpose of the report? They didn't know. They're just something they've done, the instructors have done. They just want to do it with a push of a button, you know? And so that's why I got away from all that. I said, you know what? I need to go back and just, you know, come up with the reasons why. Effectiveness, be more effective, you know, instead of just being busy doing all that stuff, you know, even with the online stuff, you know. But I just couldn't have I think I'm a really good student. And I think I have a gift about sharing things through storytelling. or through talking or through teaching. I'm not technically the best person out there. There's people who like eat me alive, you know, but I think I have a gift about, you know, taking things apart and adding philosophy to it and relationships and, you know, putting the physical into mental, emotional, spiritual together. So I think my goal is to now take to that. You know, I'm working on my next project is coming up with a principles-based or principle-centered curriculum. That's not style. I'm not making my own style up, but come up with a bunch of strategies that every martial art should have. I don't care if you teach Taekwondo to boxing to Silat, you know, there should be a set of strategies that should be taught because the strategies and principles work. You don't have to know about them. They work. You know what I mean? So, so I want to go and I want to work on a set of those strategies and principles and kind of introduce them or reintroduce them to people and have people start teaching them in their classes, not what to do technically, because what to do, they all know what to do. It's going back and adding the strategies, adding the why, you know, into it, you know? And so that's the thing that I want to go towards because I'm getting older, you know, I want to kind of leave my mark, you know, and my mark is not going to be, you know, the way I kicked or punch or whatever, you know, this, like I said, so many people who can do better, you know, but that's going to be my thing is to become principle centered, you know, so that's the thing that I'm working on the most, you know.
Well, you've done an amazing job with helping school owners. I mean, you know, you know, what you put out there is great, but this to me was one of the best things you've done. You know, your stories, they're just great stories to share. What got you into, and so for me, it's when I look in, it's backwards, but they tell me, no, it's right. Like, okay. Well, open hands. Tell us a little bit, you know, why you decided to put this book out. And
I'm telling you, I want, one of the experiences that I wanted most school owners to have from reading this book is, oh, that happened to me. Oh, I've done that before. Oh, that was my student, right? So again, going back to, I didn't do anything that was, you know, brand new or nothing, you know, it was more every day we go through, but sometimes we oversee the simplest things, you know what I mean? And these stories are designed to wake something up in the person going, I know this has happened to me. I've done this. Larry, did you not have that experience? You know, like when you look at something, you read someone and you're like, hey, a kid did that to me the other day, you know? And so that was my whole goal, is to go back to just do these little simple lessons. And I'll tell you, I think if you look at the history, one of the greatest things I can recommend everybody to watch, you got a short documentary called Finding Joe by Joe Campbell. So Joe Campbell was a pioneer who went all around the world, searched all the religions, all this stuff, and came up that they all say the same thing. Every movie has the same story. There is a separation, there's anxiety, then there's a return, you know. And so he came up with this formula. It's called The Hero's Journey. It's out on YouTube. It's out, and you know, it's called Finding Joe. Anyway. So for me, it's these stories all have the greatest lessons in the history have handed down through stories. Let it be through Bible or, you know, any kind of religious or from one to the other. It's been through stories, right? So I wanted to bring some of these stories and make even more of them, not make them because they're already there, but share them with the students because through stories, people can relate. Right, so we want that storytelling, you know, and they'll get that. Little kids get that, you know, and so that's kind of been the gift that I want to have and work on more and more.
That's awesome. That's really, really awesome. I got a question for you. Yeah. I got a chance to watch your biography. That I think it wasn't it the Martial Arts Museum? Yeah. Really cool story. And it got me to something that got me to really thinking was your cracked rib story that kind of happened to you early on, right? And you were sidelined. I mean, many of us, I tell people all the time, if you do this long enough, you're going to have a moment where, you know, you're going to have to sit out, you know, and you're going to have to take mental notes, physical notes, or whatever it is. But Can you share a little bit about that with everybody that's out there?
Well, you know, the greatest lessons in my my lifetime is I've always learned it the hard way. Either been through some kind of pain. Some of them I've got the lesson. Some of them I'm still working on. But you know, believe me or not, I used to be kind of cocky, and you can't tell right now. But anyway, with Steve, I've been so lucky to train with two different teachers from two different extremes. You know, Steve Sexton was a man who enjoyed and lived a violent life, and he was never against it. If you know, but the nicest person at the same time. Then I trained with Jihan Jay, which is all about philosophy and story. But you know, and I love both of them. But if something went wrong, guess who I would go with? You know what I mean? And so anyway, I think I was yellowable for something. I said something in the class I shouldn't have, and Steve just, you know, psychic me. I cracked my ribs. And as you know, with cracked ribs and stuff, you can't do anything. I mean, you can't, you know, they're rapid and they go, hey, don't move, you know, because if it's going to puncture your lungs. But I was back the next day and watching classes, very humble. It just kind of like took me all down. Like, you know, don't think you're all that, you know, and that's happened to me a few times with Ron. Ron just, you know, a couple of times I've, you know, faced him physically. He just tore me apart, you know, and it was my 50th. That, you know, I one of the stupidest ideas I had, you know, 550 people on my birthday. But one of them was Ron, and everybody else was kind of sweet and, you know, trying to be like nice. And Simon Rhee was there, Ernie Reyes, you know, Dave Kovar was everybody. But Ron came and he just like tore me apart. And it's funny because everybody thought, oh my God, that's not cool, you know. And
oh, speaking of the guy,
here he is. And I can't hear him. Can you hear him?
You got your audio on, Ron?
Ron. No, you can't hear. No. Anyway, he'll listen to it.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
All right, that was just a wrap. So.
How you doing, Ron?
Good. Sorry I couldn't be with you. But I figured.
We were just talking about you.
Oh no. So how'd it go?
It was good.
Great.
Let me just finish my story real quick. That when I asked Ron, and he said, I wanted to share my love with you. And he really did. I took more away from that than anything else. So I did not take it personal, and I'll make sure everybody look at it, because that's the essence. That's what we're, physical beings. You know what I mean? And he shared what, you know, a great lesson with me. And he's done that a few times. You know, like I said, sometimes I listen with this, sometimes I listen with this. And either way he teaches. So, right, Ron?
I am so lost on what you guys are talking about.
his 50th birthday, and then everyone was nice and sparring, but you kind of went on him a little bit. So.
oh, the 50th birthday, Fred. Is that what you're talking about? Oh, you're talking about Faribor's 50th birthday.
Yes, Faribor's, and you sparred him.
I originally met, I think, Faribor's at Fred Degerbert's. Was it his 50th?
Yeah.
It was 50th.
So then Faribor's beat me up for his birthday. That's right.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. I was just telling him about it, how I did it.
I got a good picture of you punching me right in the face. So yeah, it was good. You know what? I got to give you so much respect. I mean, how many people do that? That's not an easy thing to do. You know, I went for my 50th. Should I do that? I couldn't do that. No way. So no, my hat goes off to it. That was cool.
That was really fun. Cool. That was fun. We had a great talk today, and thank you for providing us this vehicle, this avenue for us to talk and communicate and share ideas. I know I haven't talked to Larry for a long time. You know, Cliff, I haven't talked to for a long time. And,
yeah, I told him the only way I'm going to talk to him is to bring him on the show, because he never answers my calls.
No,
is that Joey next to you?
That
is
Joey?
Hey, Joey.
Look at that.
Hi.
Hey, guys. Michael Lasky for his audience. Yeah. We just got done working. I was hoping to get on there a little sooner, but I couldn't. So it was a rehearsal day for us on something I can't really talk about yet, but we'll talk about that soon. But it was a good day. Nobody got hurt.
Good, man.
Really
good.
Not like really stuff we're doing, but oh well, it's all good. So
Good.
I don't mean to like horn in on what's going on, but what's going on?
Well, we just had a nice conversation about different things and the COVID and all that stuff that's going around. And these guys were kind enough to, make a big deal about me and what I do and what my opinion counts, and which I appreciate, but this is good. This is good for us to talk, and doesn't have to be all about martial arts. Could be all just about life, right?
Can I ask you something about COVID?
Yeah.
And I've been meaning actually to ask you for a while now. How do you have to pacify more a parent? Like, do they come in and are they looking to see if people are masked, or looking to see if you're following any type of requirements?
We got, I'm more after the people that are kind of in the middle, but we do have extremists on each side. We got a parent who, we got a few parents who come in and go, oh, these guys are wearing masks, we're not coming in. And other way around, a few parents who said, no, unless everybody's, I have a couple students that I teach privately, they won't come in unless everybody in the studio is wearing masks. So I got to put them in a time where there's nobody here, which I appreciate. I go along with everybody, but I'm going to more, it's calmed down a lot around here, but we still do all the protocols. We still clean the studio, we take temperature, you know what I mean? We still do all that stuff.
Yeah. Sorry, I feel so bad. I probably should hang up because we're driving, but I just felt so bad that I'm not on the show today. So I just wanted to jump on. But I see, like, even on this movie set that we're working on today, I mean, we wore those masks all day. I've had 2 COVID checks this week alone. I had to go in and get the nose thing done a couple times. And, they take it real serious. And if you don't feel good, they don't want you in there at all. And it's good though. We have to follow.
We have to follow. I mean, and that's the way, it is what it is, right?
Well, it's still such an unknown. We don't know what variants can do. And if you think just because you're vaccinated and then it doesn't work against it, I mean, I tell my wife all the time, we still have to be careful, wash our hands, keep the distance from people, because, why take the chance? We don't know. It's still an unknown for us.
Yeah. It's crazy. So, did you guys hit any of his philosophy on running schools, or did you stay away from that? I had so many questions for you today, so I was so bummed I wasn't going to be able to be on there. But I mean, I think that you are like, we were all talking this week of what to call you, the pioneer, the grandfather of, all these terms. And I just think every one of us kind of really respect where you brought, like, the martial arts school industry. Outside your martial arts is really, really amazing, but you got a great brain for running a school. Like, you've changed me a lot, and everybody that I've touched that, even zombie, I think they've all prospered because of a lot of them.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. We talked about some of that, and like I said, I'm always available if anybody here ever wants to reach out, have any questions, or whatever. I'm not doing anything that's secret or magic.
Yeah.
I remember that thing you were talking about earlier, where somebody's going to get asked a question, right? And I feel like you gave me that lesson a long time ago, because now with every private lesson that we finish, and even with classes, we ask like favorites, we go around and talk, but even more so with the private lessons, we always ask them 2 questions. And the first question is, we ask them what they learned. And then they talk a little bit about what they learned. And sometimes we went over some of the same stuff we did the time before. So it's also a great time for myself or my team to interject those little details that they might have missed that we covered that were new, right? And then of course, we always try to end on a high note after a great training session as far as like what their favorite was. But I believe it was you that coached me on that, because, you're like, hey, what's the first thing mom's going to ask or dad's going to ask when they get in the car? What'd you learn today? And they're like, nothing. And you're like, well, that's just a waste, right? And so I do it with my kids when they get out of school too and stuff, which is funny, you know what I mean? So, but it sticks. I mean, it really does. And I think.
Oh yeah. I mean, some of the simplest thing, like I see a lot of school owners, they do games at the end of the class, which I'm totally against, because when is the time that the mom and dad are coming to pick up their kid? The end of the class, right? What are they going to come in and go, these guys are just running around playing games, and guess what? If they have to cut one of their bills, guess which one they're going to get cut? So he just goes and plays over there anyway, you know? So I'm not against games, but put them in the beginning, put them in the middle, but not towards the end. You know, some of the, again, if we're going back to what's the purpose of this activity, I think that's what I've always tried to do. What's the purpose of this, rather than just, you know, doing this, you know, like playing catch or hit each other. I know Ron taught me this lesson. You know, we go around with a little, like a sword, foam sword, try to hit each other, you know, whatever it's called. You know, Ron was like, you know, why don't you have them hit the right knee only? Instead of, you can hit them anywhere, but you have to hit them in the right knee. Now I'm teaching accuracy. See, now I'm explaining to them, it's not just because you're hitting every ball, the kids running around, they can run around, but guess what they're doing? They're looking for the right knee of the opponent, right? And I never forget that lesson. I'm like, oh my God, take a same old game who has no practical application. Now we're adding a concept to it, right? Of hitting the one particular part of the body, right? That made a huge difference in the game for me. Now they're learning how to, you know, target, right?
You know, Fireboard, when I first met you, you shared a couple things with me. One, you introduced me to Stephen Covey, which was really a big eye opener. But you talked about when you were developing your like the owner's manual or for your instructors, but it was the mission statement, you know, and how important that is, because we can really sort of deviate what our real focus is. And actually, when Ron reached out to Larry and I, and we started this partnership on really taking Mars to an entire different level. You know, Ron mentioned that too, about them having that mission statement, because it's easy if you don't have it, you start sort of digressing and getting off of what your focus is. And I think, you know, right there, by you mentioning the fact, because, you know, in the industry, it was always like, you go to people's talks and, oh yeah, you end in a high note with, you know, playing games. But really it's not what our mission is, right? We're not here to play games. You know, we're here to teach martial arts. And so if they go back to their mission state, remember, well, does this fit with what my mission is? Am I doing what I was set out to, or am I sort of going off task? Right. But yeah, I'll remember that time when you took out your manual and you were showing me, and you asked me, do you have a mission statement? I go, no. What's the mission statement?
Right.
But yeah, that's huge. So I always would, you know, think about when I'm creating some kind of business ventures, like what is our main purpose that we're trying to accomplish here?
Exactly. I mean, the purpose is the main thing, man. What are we just being busy? You know, instructors get burned out because they always have to be creative. And I don't want my instructors to be creative. I want them to be creative when they're taking class. But when they're teaching, let them do what we already planned it out for them. Let them be comfortable. We need to do this, this, and this. You know, I always think about the example of the plane. You know, when the plane takes off from, you know, LA to San Francisco, the pilot could care less if you go into San Francisco or Utah. There's a system that's already in the plane that sets it up. The own pilot's job is to sit back and follow the line. And when the plane goes off track, pilot kicks it back in. You go off track, kicks it back in. Right? And we all need that. That's our curriculum. That's our mission statement. So if we go off track a little bit, then it comes back in. Or if you're lucky enough, like Ron, to me, like I've never told you this to you before, Ron, but I think Diana is your mission statement. Diana is the one that kicks you back into, you know, go back, because you have the tendency, right? We all over the place, right? Just like me. But I think people like Diana and stuff, they come back and they kick you back in. Nope, we got to work on da-da-da-da. And you get the best results that way. You're lucky enough to have a partner that does that, you know?
Yeah, no, sometimes she'll give me that hard pill to swallow, but pretty much I know she's got my back, and she's always kicking me back into it. But I know it. I'm so ADD, I am all over the place, and she will be like, you've got to get this done. Don't, you know, slack. And it's really easy to go off course. It's like, you just gave a plane analogy. What is it? You know, planes are constantly off course.
Right.
And readjusting. And you know, it's a controlled crash. Everything is plotted out. And you know that there's fail safes in store for if this happens, they have something to go to. And I think it's a great analogy that you just came up with.
Yeah, so that's just it goes back to what you were saying, Cliff. Have a vision statement, or I'm constantly about this right now. When the students ask me a question, I ask them, what do you think? right? I want to make sure we empowering students. And Ron does this to me all the time. Oh, I can do it this way. What do you think? Right? And I go, well, you know, it doesn't matter right or wrong, but the fact that I have an opportunity to say my opinion makes me feel like, oh shit, you just asked my opinion, right? So it just empowers me to come up with a little bit more, you know?
Well, you once told me something about my father-in-law. Like you asked him to show you something.
Yeah.
And what did he do to you?
Oh my God. I got goosebumps just thinking about it. You know, he was at our school and, he's like, I asked him, I said, will you show me something? You teach me something. He goes, well, because this is not a lesson, we're not trading money or anything, then you need to show me something first. And I said, okay. So here I am teaching some Hapkido technique, and how to get out of it. And the way he was excited about it just made me think like, oh God, I'm showing him something he doesn't know. Then he's done. He's like, great job. That was awesome. And I go, well, let me ask you something, Guru. Do you have any other ways that you can escape this hold? And it's like, well, yeah, like, he didn't want to do it. But I'm like, please show me. And man, he just blew me out of the water. But he did it with such grace and such excitement that I felt good about myself, but it technically made me feel like this, but it was the same technique. He knew it all along, but he just allowed me to feel and enjoy my success in thinking I'm teaching Guru Inosanto a technique that he doesn't know, right? But Guy knew more about the Persian history and more about the Persian weapon that all my life I've ever heard. He knew about the wars and the kind of knives they had. I'm like, I felt so bad. I'm like, I'm Persian and I don't know any of that.
You know what's so cool about those? I mean, if you think about it, you guys know what I'm from. What do you know it from? I'm sure you probably taught a Japanese version, a Brazilian version, a Hapkido version, a Filipino version. So how, who's to say who owns that technique? But sometimes there's a different flavor on how to get into it. Maybe there's a different point that you push or, so that's the beauty of my father-in-law. My son Spencer, and he came by, Guru Dan came by the house and I go, hey, that's Spencer, can you show him, just give him some pointers. And he goes, okay. And he gets, we got the foils out. And he goes, Zach, if you hold it this way, this is like the Romanian way. If you hold it this way, this is the Italian way. The Germans like to do this. So me, I ran and I jumped on the internet and I looked. And I'm like, God bless, he's right. And he didn't prep. He didn't know I was going to ask him. So it's in there with this guy. And he does live for that. And, the other thing I had, and I always tell the story, when I first got to know him, I mean, I was still living in Chicago, but before Diana.
The Kung Fu guy, right?
Yeah, we went to that Kung Fu guy. And I was new, and I was just getting to really know him. And I drove him there, and I had like one-on-one time with, Guru Dan Inosanto. And I thought, oh, this is the coolest thing. And we went, and we sat down, and this guy was doing stuff, and I wasn't real impressed. And the guy, he was trying, he knew who was there watching him, and he's doing his thing. And we sat there, it had to be for a couple hours. And at the end of it, my father-in-law got up, and he's like, wow, that was amazing. Wasn't that great, Ron? And Sam was there, and he's just soaking up all that, that praise. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, yeah, great. And I was young and dumb. And we walked outside, and said, did you really like that? And he goes, let me show you something. He went over so much stuff, and it was beautiful. And I go, wow, that's really cool. He goes, that's what that guy was doing. And I go, no. And he goes, yeah, no, it was that. And he showed me how it was that. And it was a great lesson to me that there's something in it for everybody. If you just watch and don't put them down, you'll find there's some little, like carrots in there. You just gotta listen to stuff and you'll find it. And the one thing that I laughed at, because Ron, you learn anything from anybody, even if it's how not to do something. Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to steal the show. Let's talk about you.
Yeah, but I agree. I did the Chicago experience with him also in the school. And I remember it was like, we were late. We came from the seminar and we're going to go out to eat. But somebody, and this individual, we brought him over. We wanted him to show his instructor. And they were all, had, bending things, hitting hitting each other. And I thought one guy, he was like, you know, they kept trying to break some concrete slabs on him, and it wouldn't break. And you could see the guys in so much pain as they're punching, and then they punch him with the bare knuckle to show how they could use their inner chi, you know. And I was watching it going, and I was like really hungry. And I kept, when Guru Dan came out, like about 2 hours later, I'm going, well, how come he just kept going and watching? He goes, the same thing. Well, there's something you can learn from everyone, right? But yeah, we sat through 2 hours of watching this. And I was like, God, this is such a joke. I can't believe it. But yet humble, nice about the whole thing. The only thing I was saying, I'm starving to death, man. Let's go eat.
Well, we are driving. I am going to probably jump off, let you guys end this thing. I feel bad since you're in the car doing this. So I am going to sign out with you for today. But next week I'm back. Come on. Okay?
All right. Be safe. Be safe, Ron.
All right, guys. All right. Take care. I'll see you, Justin.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That's awesome.
So
I'm glad you got to jump on.
Yeah. I'd like you to share just some of your social media sites, or, you know, the owners group, maybe if a school owner wants to get on board, like how they can get involved.
I do have a post. I mean, I do have a group called Martial Arts School Owners that I share, you know, stuff about running the school. That's on Facebook. People can go to faribors.com. I have all my online training stuff over there, including the curriculum that I teach, which I work on every day, do something different. And just hook up with me with the Facebook and the Instagram. Instagram is more personal for me versus Facebook is more business and martial arts and, you know, all that stuff, you know. So those are the best way to get a hold of me.
Yeah. And in that group, he's been very generous with, you know, giving, you know, PSD Photoshop files to create your own posters, flyers, manuals. I mean, so much over the years that he's given out, and greatly appreciated in our industry if you're not a martial artist. But, you know, he's one of my most favorite people. And we have this experience. Do you remember in Chicago when we went swimming in the river? It's a little personal story that we'll like chuckle about. Maybe we'll tell about that story sometime. But
we need Tom Callis there.
Yeah, we need Tom Callis for that one to kind of really understand that story. Anything you want to add, Larry?
No, I mean, you know, as far as just thank you for being an inspiration. I mean, you really did an amazing job on me. Between you and Fred, man, y'all tuned me up, you know what I mean, and got me I say it got me set straight, but just got my mind in the right place to help more people, and I think to help them in a much better way. So I think that makes a big difference. But I was telling everybody at our school over the last week, I was like, man, y'all got to listen to this. Y'all got to listen to this, because, you know, maybe they don't have, they might know the name, but they don't have the face or the voice to go with it, and the presence and just the wisdom that you kind of share with everybody. And so, yeah, you know, it's super, super thankful that our paths crossed all those years ago. And every time I see you, it's just always a hats off, man. So, you know, we really appreciate you.
Thank you.
We got the Mars Caribbean camp come up in November, Fireboys. You should come down.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we'll have a good time.
Do it.
Yeah. So I just want to run through it again a little bit about the camp coming up. Any of the things going on Mars, Larry?
Yes, sir. So yeah, wow, so much coming up for all of us, right? But dates are already in. They've been set since last year, which is great. November 5th, 6th, and 7th for the Caribbean camp. All the information about the excursions and everything that's included with your training package is up there. There's even just an adventure package. So that means if you're bringing the kids or a significant other or somebody else, you're more than welcome to have them tag along. They don't have to train, but they can still come to all the adventures that we're going to be doing there. So you can go up to marscaribbeancamp.com. Lots of cool photos, lots of great information. But we had a blast doing that one last year. And then, of course, our dates are already set for the Mars Southwest Camp back here, Austin, Texas. And that's going to be next March as well. So that's up there on Facebook. If you just type in Mars Southwest Camp 2022, the event's going to pop right up. And all the juicy details are there for the training program too, which is neat. The other big thing, of course, is you guys know about our launch, right? So we've been giving this thing a huge facelift. You know, my expression, pardon it, is that we've been trying to fill in the Swiss cheese, right? So we've got gaps and holes that we had in our curriculum before that we're no longer going to have, right? And that's something that I think Cliff and I are both super stoked about, because we've been diving in knee deep. I think we've been overwhelmed. Ron's been super excited. In fact, I don't know if I've ever seen him this excited filming wise, you know what I mean? Because you know how it is. Training, that's not a problem. Teaching, that's not a problem, right? But, you know, getting out there and then making the time to do the filming and things like that, it does take extra time. It takes a lot of extra energy and motivation. And I haven't seen us have to motivate him at all. He has been out in front of the camera, and I'm constantly getting like emails with like video and links, you know, to go download for this, which is cool. So
I saw the footage of Fireborse from this weekend too.
That's it.
It's good. You did good, Fireborse. So I saw the footage. You uploaded it. So Larry and I are going to be working on, you know, adding that. Yeah. But like I said, as Larry said, it is going to be a huge upgrade, and we've got a lot of exciting things we're going to be doing over the next year. That's just going to benefit any member of the site, and in courses that will be available. You know, we're looking to bring some other martial arts experts aboard, and I would love to someday have Fireborse, you know, share, especially, you know, a lot of things that can be, I think, directly made for school owners to help them also. So absolutely. This is our whole idea, is to really have a main focal point where, you know, you have stand up, you have ground, you have weapons, you got, it's like, I wish I had this thing, you know, 20 years ago to be able to come in and basically learn anything you wanted to.
Yep, I agree. And, you know, for all you guys, some of you guys are already a part of the portal, which is great. And so you're going to be staying in the loop with that. Some of you guys are paying close attention to this, but, you know, share this video, get out there and let people know about it. Let them know about the Mars Action Group Facebook page. And then kind of linked up to that is our Mars Action Group forum, which is a private Facebook group you can have access to, where we can post and comment on more things there, which is great. If you've been following the webcast here, Seeking the Path, then you know that Guru Ron has opened up the floodgates. He's giving away his Jeet Kune Do book, which is cool. So you can actually download a digital version of that if you want. That's up there at marsonlinetraining.com. So you can go in there and just subscribe so you can stay in the loop about everything that's going on. Yeah, it's an exciting time. You know, I'm pumped. May is coming around the corner, but it's been early mornings, late nights, and it's just been a lot of cool watching the Patience Bar upload, you know? So, but it's exciting.
And Larry, you'll post all those links because you really, really want to be part of it, and give us your email, because this is the way that we're going to keep you current. And also, you know, I talked about that. We're going to have some coupon codes sometimes for pre-releases, early releases that you'll get first, you know, and maybe only get that discount. So definitely want to be part of our email database. Fireborse, any last closing remarks? See the good. You got that up there on your whiteboard. See the good. Just give us a little why you put that up there.
You know, it's a constant reminder, you know, this is upstairs for me. So when I walk up here, that's the first thing I see. Doesn't matter how I feel, I need something to check in with myself. And when I see that, I go, doesn't matter what happens, there's a hidden blessing somewhere in this challenge that I'm going through, you know, and that's just a reminder for me to always try to see the good.
You have the reminder also that says, really take good care of my friend's Cliff's 9th Dan certificate, right? You've got it in a safe place.
Yes, of course.
Because I left it when I was there, when I left it after a graduation, and I got so busy and I packed, and I ended up leaving my belt and my certificate. And I was like, Fireborse, don't lose it. You know, I got to keep that certificate. So,
well, thank you guys for the opportunity. That was great.
It was great having you, and it was great seeing you in person. I mean, we talk here on the phone, but definitely I'm planning on a trip soon to come out that way. I'd like to do some more photography. Some of your friends I've talked to already about doing some portraits for them, and I'd like to update your portraits on there also.
Please do.
All right. Well, thanks again.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thanks, guys, for watching, and please share. The more you share, the bigger audience, the more we can give. Thanks.
Yep. Yes, sir. Y'all have a great day.
Okay. Talk to you later, Larry.
See you, buddy.